So, we hit 100,000. That is amazing. Thank you all for being simply amazing, and because all of you are so amazing, I have a special surprise for all of you today. You know how I say special a lot? Well, it's not going to get any more special than this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the official SubZero Draw My Life. Yeah, so let me actually get into this and tell you all a beautiful story. Trust me, you may want to take a seat for this one. It was like any other peaceful day in the world of Roblox, with the trees standing tall, the sun shining bright and the skies being as blue as could be, until, out of nowhere, a strange object came crashing down from the skies. It went so fast that no one could really see what it was. Once it hit the ground, it was burning hot and you could see the smoke coming off of it. Everyone was curious to see what it was, so everyone gathered around the object and waited for something amazing to happen. They waited day and night, and every day they were disappointed. But all of a sudden the object exploded and there was this huge explosion, and after that a white flash followed. And there I was. Everyone had no idea what they were seeing, but it didn't take long for all of them to realize that a legend was just born. And as I stood there, I thought to myself, what am I doing here? And then it got to me. I got an idea. What if I was sent to this planet to possibly create videos? That idea really got to me, and you all know I like making YouTube videos, so guess what I did back in the day? That's right, I made videos. But let me not get too far ahead of myself now. You are probably thinking, Sub, what happened when you just stood there in front of all these people? Well, let me tell you, out of all of these people there was one person who stepped up and said my name. He screamed Sub, and the whole crowd just went silent all of the sudden. It was as if everyone knew this guy and I didn't have a clue who it was. Anyway, he made his way through the crowd and slowly came towards me. I looked him in the eye, and he looked me in the eye, and all of a sudden everything just went completely silent. Like there was nothing else to hear. He came a bit closer to me and whispered in my ear, one day, you are going to be big, Sub. One day. And I was like, who even are you, dude? This is really scary, can you please get out of here? And he said, Sub, why are you acting so rude? What is going on, my man? And then I said, look, please get out of here. I don't like it when complete strangers come close to me and ask me all sorts of questions. I don't even know you. And then he was like, well, okay, then if you don't know me, then something is definitely wrong with you. And I thought that wasn't really nice of him to say to me, so I got really angry and I told him that if he wouldn't leave right now I would totally destroy him and teach him a lesson. He replied with, I am staying here until I can't handle it myself anymore, because you, Sub, you need to get through this and not me. Well, obviously I got very angry with the guy and I started a huge battle with him that ended up in explosions and flying around place and getting thrown into different directions and all of that cool stuff. Once it ended we were both super duper tired and we decided to call it a truce, because let's be honest here, it's better to become friends than becoming enemies, right? But that friendship didn't long forever, but I'll get back to that later. Again, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. I have a lot to talk about and it would be a shame if I tell you all the good parts first, right? So, we became friends. He invited me over to his place as long as I didn't get my own, and if you are all wondering, his name is Coral, but I'm sure most of you already know him. Anyway, Coral's house turned out to be a top-secret military base. Don't worry, it's not a military base anymore, it's a cool house now, but I thought you would like to know that. Anyway, so we come up to the front door of his house and all I could see was this sort of bunker with trees all around it, and I heard some funny sounds coming from this inside of the bunker. Coral said, oh, don't worry, just some other friends of mine. I still had no idea what I was actually doing or how Coral knew me, but I knew that something was going on. I played all of it cool though. You see, I became a secret spy later on, but that's something for a different story. Anyway, when we got to the inside, Coral basically said, alright, this is the house, do whatever you want to do. I said sure, thank you, and when I started looking around the place I started seeing some really weird things. For example, he had a lot of fan mail of mine on his wall. I started wondering why there was fan art of me hanging on his wall, so I walked up to him and I asked him, Coral, why is there fan art of me hanging on your wall? And he replied, oh well, Sub, it's funny that you ask because I have something to tell you. You see, I'm not the only person in this house that knows about you. I was very shocked. I looked around me but I saw no one. Then all of a sudden there were two new people in the room. Coral started to introduce them. This is Alex, is speaks a lot of English and is just a very cool guy in general. And then this is Dennis, he likes cats. So you are probably wondering what I replied to that, right? Well, I said the following: Coral, what exactly is going here? And then it all came together. Coral then started to explain why I was there and why I didn't know any of them and all of that good stuff. Here's what he said. He told me that I had made a time machine that actually worked and that when I tested it something horribly went wrong and I went back in time really far. So far that I couldn't even remember who Coral, Alex and Dennis were. That explained a lot for me, and when he told me that I started to remember everything about them, I suddenly remembered who they were and what we did together. There was only one thing that I didn't remember though, and that was why I made the time machine. So I asked Coral why I made the time machine, and Coral said, well Sub, the reason you made the time machine is simply because you wanted to look back on how you met us, but instead of doing that you went back way too far and it didn't really work out, and so I couldn't really remember how I met Coral, Alex and Dennis either. But then Coral started to explain how I met all three of them, and he started with himself. A very long time ago I was in a theme park, because if all know me you sure should know that I really love theme parks, and there was this one ride called the Love Boats, and I thought to myself, yeah sure, let's go in there for once just to see how it was, and believe it or not I got placed in a cart with Coral because we were both alone at the theme park, and it was really silent the first few minutes because I had no idea what to say, because let's be honest, it was kind of awkward, but that doesn't matter because on about halfway through the ride I asked Coral if he liked theme parks too, and he said, well yeah, that's the reason why I'm here, and I suddenly felt a good friendship between us. So when we got out of the ride I asked him if he wanted to create the YouTube videos with me, and I also said that if things didn't work out we could always make a theme park together called Sub Coral Park. Pretty cool, am I right? Or am I right? But that's the way I met Dennis. Now the way I met Alex is that one time I actually was on holiday in England and I was really thirsty, and there was no shop that was open or anything, but there was this one building that had a huge sign above it saying, if you are thirsty you should totally come in here because we have all sorts of drinks. I thought to myself that that couldn't be true, so I went in there just to check it out. I mean, I could have just dreamed that building was there, but it turned out that the building was real, and believe it or not, inside of the building there was only one table and there was only one person sitting on that table. And yes, that was kind of scary at the start, but because I was so thirsty I actually went to the table and asked the random person for a drink, and then he looked at me and I saw something very special. I saw Alex, and Alex said, hey there mate, what do you want? And I replied with, yeah, I would really love a drink please because I am super thirsty. He then went to his bar and gave me one of his best drinks. We sat on that table for a few good hours, and then I saw that same thing as Alex as I did in Coral. And I also thought he was pretty cool because he had the whole English voice and all that. I told him that he could make YouTube videos with Coral and me, and if that wouldn't work out we could always start our own shop with thousands of drinks and all of that, and we would call the shop SubLex. I still think that that is a really cool name, to be honest. So that's how I met Alex, and Alex met Coral later on, and we had a really cool time together because we were preparing to make a whole lot of YouTube videos, but we thought that something was missing, and after hours of thinking we came to the conclusion that we missed the one thing that could keep motivating us to work harder and harder. And do you know what that was? The thing we were missing was a really cute cat. So the guys looked at me really cute and asked if I could go and get a cat, and of course I said yes, because let's all be honest here, a cat is always cute and will definitely help you out with work, right? So I went to the cat shop. That's right, we had a cat shop around pretty close, and I stared looking for the cutest one, but I didn't really see any cute ones. The only thing I saw were kittens, and those are really cute too, but we wanted a cat. And then at one point I did see a really cute one, but there was something special about what I saw because I saw a man sitting next to the cat in the cage. It was like he was in love with the cat, and so I asked him what he was doing in the cage, and he told me that that was his cat, and if I were to buy the cat I would get the guy too. And so I asked his name and he said Dennis, and so I realized that Dennis did sound like a pretty cool guy, so I thought why not, right? We would have a cat to motivate us to work harder, and then we also had a new guy who could also make a whole lot of videos. It really was a win-win situation, and Coral and Alex totally agreed, and so Dennis joined the family, and that's how I met all of them. But not everything went as planned, of course, because nothing goes as planned usually. You see, we didn't just make videos without having problems, and there is one big thing that I never told all of you about. You see, one day we were working very hard, but then we had very bad luck because something so terrible happened that we all thought to ourselves, oh no, what do we now? The problem was that we were out of coffee, and you all know that without coffee there's no energy, and with no energy there is no work. So we all looked at each other and we decided that I had to go and get new coffee, but because we are the best YouTube team ever, we had a top secret base. A base even more secret than the house of the boss of the CIA, so I had to go a very long way until I could get new coffee. But I did do it because it was so important to all of us. I had to travel through mountains and even take a boat across the ocean, and then I had to walk through a very big city with a lot of people, and then just outside of that city there was this one little shop with a sign on it that said coffee here, and so I instantly jumped up and started running at the shop because I really needed that coffee like I just explained. So I go in there, and you can believe it or not, but the guy in the shop was Dan from Dan TDM, and I was like, OMG, I am a big fan, but I really need some good coffee right now. Dan then gave me my coffee, and so I had to go all the way to our top secret house in order to finish the new videos. Now that I have talked about some of the problems that I have faced in my life, it's time to tell you some of the good things that I did too, because what would this video be without some in it, right? This one time the guys and myself went to a theme park, and there was this super duper huge roller coaster which actually was just added to the park, and we were the very first ones in line. But there was one problem, and that is that all of us actually have a fear of heights, and we were all thinking to ourselves, should we really do this, guys? But then we thought about the fact that this roller coaster was the newest and best coaster in the whole world, so kind of said to each other that we just had to do it because this was a super cool chance. So when we got in the roller coaster we really started to get nervous because, as you know, we have a fear of heights, and the best part about this roller coaster is that it went super high. Anyway, so we start going up the coaster, and all of a sudden the coaster stopped, and we were all panicking because we thought something was wrong, but it turned out to be a part of the ride, so we're very lucky on that part. After a couple of minutes, and yes, I'm saying minutes because that's literally how high this thing was, we reached the top, and there we stopped again. I told the guys that this is it, and that there was no way back, and that this was the time to face our biggest fear of all, which was heights. The guys agreed, and at that moment the coaster started going downhill, and we had the thrill of our lives. I'm telling you, when it was over we were very happy. We really laughed a lot about it after the ride, but let me just end it by saying that it was really intense. Anyway, that is just one of the many times that we had a good time. You see, another fun story is about that one time we went surfing. It was really warm outside, and we all thought about taking a day off and just relaxing, and then Cordell said, well guys, what if we just take a day off and go surfing? I'm sure you will all find it very cool to do because surfing can be super relaxing once you get used to doing it. We were all thinking about it very hard first, but in the end we decided to just go with it and go surfing. We ended up at one of the hottest beaches in the whole world, and believe me when I say hot, I mean really hot. It was like 100 degrees out there. Well, maybe not 100, but you get the point. So we set up a few chairs on which we could sit when we would be taking a break from the actual surfing, and then Alex told us to get our surfboards and to start surfing. Everyone had a board except for me though, so I asked where they got their boards from, and they told me that there was this one stand at the entrance of the beach where you get boards. So I went there, and believe it or not, but the person who was selling boards was the one and only PewDiePie, and he said, well, if you want a board you will have to prove to me that you can surf. So I said, okay, wait here, and I got the board from Cordell, and I just went straight into the water, stepped on the board and completely nailed it. I'm just kidding, I fell straight into the water when taking my first wave. I then returned to the little stand for boards, and all of a sudden PewDiePie was gone, and the person selling boards was now Cordell, and I said, Cordell, what are you doing here? He said that he sneaked in so that he could get me my board, because if I had to show off my surfing skills I would never get a board, so he gave me a green surfboard. I then went into the water again, and after a lot of falling and all of that I actually learned how to surf. It didn't turn out to be so relaxing though. You might actually be wondering why I like the color green so much. Well, let me tell you, because that is a funny story too. You see, all my life, everywhere I look I see green. I mean, the leaves are green, apples are green, and well, okay, never mind, that's not the reason. Anyway, the real reason is that on one day, Before I even met Coral, Alex and Dennis, I was home alone and all of a sudden the doorbell rang. So usually I would never open the door, but when I looked through the window I saw something that I had never seen before. I saw a real-life superhero and he was wearing a green suit. So I opened up the door and I said, "Hello sir, can I help you?" And then he said, "Yes, I am looking for the one and only SubZero." And of course your boy replied with, "Well, that's most certainly me." He then went on to explain that the whole world was in danger and that I had to form a new group of superheroes for the new generation, and if I didn't do that then the whole world would be destroyed. I know it's a little bit dramatic, but I can assure you that it really happened. From that day forward I've always felt like a real superhero, and because the superhero that made me a superhero was wearing a green suit, I am wearing green too. Actually that was all a joke. Of course that didn't happen. I just really like the color green. Ha ha ha, I got you good, didn't I? Well, if I didn't get you good then I will get you some other time, I promise. Anyway, I have had some pretty cool times in my life and I think that telling them to you guys was the whole idea of this video, and I think I kind of nailed it. You know, like I nail every challenge that I get. Well, okay, maybe not every single one of them, but I did have my good moments here and there. Anyway, I would really love to say thank you again for all the support, because without the support I'd probably be back in my workshop trying to build another time machine, which would be the best idea now that I think about that. So yeah. Thank you a lot for the support, and I hope you guys keep the support going, because oh boy do I have a few good ideas for some pretty sick adventures which I'm sure you are all going to love. I hope you enjoyed this Draw My Life video and I hope to see all of you in the next one. Thank you.